Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Jessica Wall, reporter at Ad Age. We have a special show for you today. It's February 25th, which happens to be National Chili Day. What, it's not on your calendar? Well, lucky for you, we have the chili expert with us today. I'm going to be joined by Brian Baumgartner. Brian is best known as Kevin from The Office. If you haven't seen the episode where Kevin makes his famous chili, well, don't stop watching remotely. But do yourself a favor and watch the beginning of the Casual Friday episode of The Office after you watch this live show. Also, there are about to be spoilers about the chili scene, but it's from 2009. So if you're that late to watching it, it's really not my fault or Brian's. Before we get started, if you're watching on any of our social channels, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from, and let us know if you have questions for Brian, and I'll try to get to them later in the show. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Brian Baumgartner.
Hello, hey. Jessica.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
So I know you have a new way to not spill your chili everywhere. We'll get to that. But I think what might make sense is to start off with a little bit of conversation about the scene from The Office when you brought in your famous chili. For anyone who's forgotten it, or for those who may never have seen it, could you explain the plot of that scene a little bit?
Well, I don't know about plot. Might be a little too sophisticated. Yeah, you know, Kevin was a character in The Office that had a difficult time winning one, and one of the things that he did really well was make chili, and so apparently we never see it again, but. Once a year, he brings in his famous chili to work, and is very excited about it. And then, of course, as
there
Kevin
it goes.
he makes a mistake. And when we filmed this, I had no idea, obviously, that it would be. I don't know. It's got to be top 5 gifts or memes or whatever. I can't go anywhere without it being mentioned. The one thing that I like to tell people about that day, because I get asked about it a lot, is it was one take. So I'm tremendously proud that something that has endured this long and probably for a lot longer, we did it in one take. And as I've said, there were some contingency plans about cleaning up the floor and new carpet and a variety of things. But when we finished, I don't think really anyone had planned having to clean me up. I think we would not have been able to do more than one after what I ended up looking like after that scene.
I shudder just thinking about the carpet and the office supplies and everything. So there was one take of that scene. Did you actually eat any chili that day?
No, and someone just asked me that recently. No, I did not. Although maybe I should have. That would have been a funny bit maybe to do on the floor. But no, I didn't. I never ate it. It was real chili though. That is true.
Okay. So last year, before everyone was at home cooking all the time, last year for National Chili Day, you worked with Bush's on a chili recipe. It wasn't Kevin's famous chili. It was Brian's famous chili. Do you cook chili often?
I do. I cook quite a bit, so that part is true. I don't know that really I ever cooked chili all that much, though I am from the South and love a good slow cooked meat. But after this, I kind of thought it was funny, and I would take some pictures of me doing it, and then kind of got into it, and then got into it a little more. And so I cook it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year, and generally post on it, and it gives people a chuckle, I guess. But I do love it, and I think it kind of changes the whole complexity of the house. It makes the house feel different when something like chili is being made on the stove.
What's your favorite thing to make that's not chili? What's your favorite thing to cook?
If it's not chili, it would be something on the grill. Yeah, something on the grill. Ribs, some slow cooked meat or steak or chicken I enjoy the grill a lot.
I know it's early out there out west, but you're making me hungry. It's almost lunchtime here, so now I have a lot of ideas. So now you're back with Bush's. It's a year later, and obviously the chili spill is still out there. Last year, spoiler alert for last year's campaign, there was a chili spill again. And now there's an unbreakable, unspillable chili pot prototype. I think we have a video of it, but why don't you tell us a little bit about this? And people can also go out and check out the full video on adage.com after the show. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing this year.
Well, I have to say, first of all, that I don't do a ton of branded stuff. Like for me, it's really important that it feels organic. And also, if you're going to tread into the world of The Office with me, I'm very protective of that. I feel like I owe that to the people who are fans of the show. But Bush's and my partnership with them just seemed like the greatest symmetry that exists in, I don't know, in advertising with talent today. Because, it's for them, it's about the beans. And, for me to be doing something, say, with chili doesn't really make sense, because what I do is make chili, but having Bush's as a partner where they make the crucial ingredient to the chili is really fun. So yes, we gave a nod to The Office last year and people loved it. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And yes, Brian spilled the chili last year as opposed to Kevin. And so we were talking about this year, like, how could we bring it back? We've spilled. And so yes, this year, me and my crack team of engineers and pseudoscientists have created the no spilly chili pot that you can see right there. It is a pot that is impossible to spill chili in.
And you actually worked on it, or at least in the video, I saw you welding, and you had a whole setup there to get this thing together. It's pretty funny stuff.
Well, I mean, just to be clear, there is some movie magic happening there, Jessica. I used a welder. That is true. And I kept being told that if I weld on a part of the pot, the whole pot will get very hot. And I was like, yeah. No, it's true. If you weld something metal and then you try to touch anywhere near that, it is very hot. That is true.
Before we continue our conversation, once again, just wanted to introduce ourselves. I'm Jessica Wall from Ad Age, and the man who needs no introduction is Brian Baumgartner, otherwise known as Kevin Malone from The Office. I want to give a few shout outs to some of our viewers. We have Taylor from Minnesota, Khadija from Morocco, Tania from Pakistan, Axel from Mexico, Lisa from Maryland, Alexandra from England, Rotimi from Canada, Sadali from Algeria, Dave from Maryland, and Kat from New Jersey. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. So, Brian,
I'm sorry. I saw an SMU shout out there in Dallas. So I've got there we go. Grace. Did we shout out Grace? We need Grace to be shouted out on. There you
Grace.
Go. Get your ponies up.
Yeah. Did you used to make chili for SMU games?
I have not. SMU now is great to go on the boulevard there, and they do a big pregame thing. I probably should. That's a great idea, Jessica. Maybe when this pandemic is over, we go back. When I was there, there was not a lot of tailgating. I'll be clear, but it's changed a lot, and it's really fun. So.
Well, you can shake things up once we're allowed to go back out and travel and everything.
That's right.
It's amazing to me how popular The Office has remained and how many more people have seen it since it went off the air. Why do you think it resonates with viewers today?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. I mean, first off, I have a podcast that is discussing this exact question because, look, we were the number one, as a lot of you advertisers may know, the number one scripted show on NBC for most of the latter half of our run, or the whole latter half of our run. But since the show has been off, I mean, we haven't filmed the show in 7+ years at all. And basically, based on any metric that I can find, it's the most watched show in television today, including new shows that are coming out now. And so really the question that you ask articulately, that I'm rephrasing, is why? And so I did a deep dive into attempting to answer that question for real, because just anecdotally, talking to Rainn Wilson or Steve Carell or Jenna Fisher, the show is much more popular today just when we're walking around in the world. So looking at why, and I think the major reason, maybe we should have come to some smart advertisers who had it figured out before us, but we felt like in the beginning when the show was struggling, we were doing a show for, there was a stat that was thrown out. I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like 200 million Americans work in offices, right? So if we can capture just a small percentage of those people, then we'll have a hit, right? I mean, if we get, 10% of those, 5% of those people and get 10 million people watching. But I think what we did not know, even the genius Greg Daniels at the time, was we were making a show to a large degree for young people, because the experience of a kid in school or young adult in school is very similar to an office. You have an unreasonable boss / teacher that makes you do things sometimes that you think is silly or you don't want to do. You're forced to sit next to people not of your choosing, of different personalities and characteristics. And so I think that the parallel between being in school, whether you're in junior high, high school, college, postgraduate, is very similar to the office experience and the relatability of the characters and the situations that they're put in. And I don't think I know we weren't making it for them now, but it's clear that that has resonated.
And perhaps this past year, people are actually happy to see an office setting because they've been home for so long.
Right. Well, I think someone way smarter than me talked to me about in the podcast that if you think about it, we were also making a show about a dying industry, right? Paper, as new media was exploding and the digital age was coming on, and that was sort of part of the joke. But when you really think about it, being in a privately run small office setting with things like healthcare, no matter how much it was made fun of there, healthcare and benefits and security and all of those things, that there is as crazy as it sounds, potentially a romanticizing of working in an office. Right now, it's like what, Staples, Office Depot, like where are people buying paper now? And a lot of these small run businesses don't exist anymore. So in a crazy way, there's like a nostalgia for the way things were, even though we were at the same time kind of lampooning that experience. I don't know. That's very meta and way smarter, as I said, than me, but I think that there's something there actually.
I do wonder if The Office were still on and it had to weave the pandemic into the storyline in some way, if we would have seen a follow-up to Kevin making his chili just to eat the whole pot by himself at home, because he couldn't bring it in once a year.
No, he couldn't bring it in. He might try, but yeah, I know. I think there could be a lot of storylines that could exist during the pandemic. I know people are finding creative ways to try and stay connected, and we're staying connected in a totally different way. But me personally, I'm looking forward to the day that we can go back into work and have a little more face-to-face time.
But you have been able to work over the past year. You had the oral history of The Office, and now there's the Office deep dive. So you've definitely found ways to keep busy this past year.
I picked a really good time to branch into my work being in a small studio space where I'm required to be alone. I mean, that's the thing about a recording studio. You're in a very small booth, totally and completely alone. So I found a good time to at least veer my trajectory in a slightly different direction. But I've had a lot of fun with it, and most of the interviews that you're hearing right now on the Office Deep Dive, were recorded pre-pandemic. Some moved into it, but most of it, we were actually sitting face to face, side by side.
And where did you record the bushes video? Maybe we can take a little bit of a look at the video itself while we talk about it. Where did you record this, and what was that like? Because that was during the pandemic,
that
right?
garage is my garage. That's my garage.
So those are all your tools?
That's my garage. That's my garage for sure.
Is that your kitchen too?
That might be my kitchen, but it's definitely my garage.
So we can play a little bit of this video here, and then people can go to adage.com and watch last year's video as well as this year's video. But I definitely like the can of gummy worms, or are they gummy bears? Gummy worms that you have in your garage. Is that there all the time?
Gummy worms? No, they were nice enough to bring those for me. Those were not there all the time. This was really fun to film. It was basically like me with a bunch of tools and beans in my garage, working on engineering this new thing. And it's my first blowtorch, I guess. I've never used one of those before, clearly.
Did they let you keep it?
No, not the blowtorch. No, they knew better than that.
Good. For safety reasons, I think it's a good thing that they took that back and let your garage return to its normal state.
Yes, exactly.
So what else are you working on? I know you're quite the star on Cameo. How often are you recording those videos?
Daily.
It's a lot. Yeah. People love them.
People do. And that's why I wasn't sure about the platform when I initially started. I wasn't sure that it was for me, but I think especially going into this time where people this is how at least I've come to view it. People want to go out to dinner. They want to go out to a bar. They want to celebrate somebody's birthday or special event. And I think what it is, it's not really about getting a message from me. It is in a way. And I hear a lot about, me saying their names. That's something. But I think really what I'm being used as a conduit, again, to make a connection between people. Say a daughter and her father who watched The Office together and enjoyed it and laughed about, with it and at it. And I think bringing me into the equation actually does a reconnect between that father and daughter. It's not really about me. It's about that connection and that memory that they have. And they're using me to find that familiar thing when they can't get together. That's at least how I think it.
It's great to be bringing happiness to people's lives, especially now. The past year has been such a challenge for so many people. So it's great to be able to bring them some joy, whether it's in reruns or in their own recordings. So anything else you're working on, Brian, that people should know about?
I have a new show, a kids show, which is so beautiful. Glenn Keane Productions, they won the Oscar for Dear Basketball from Kobe Bryant. It's called Trash Truck on Netflix, and they did, because he's a genius, they did an episode of an order of 33 episodes right off the bat, and I think half of them are on right now, and I think maybe half the rest of them are coming on in this next month. It's beautifully done, kind of a reimagining of a modern day Winnie the Pooh is what I would say. And I play a bear. It doesn't get much better than that. And I have a movie, an 80s hair band heavy metal movie where I play a manager of some kids in a Christian rock band. called Electric Jesus, which is kind of on the festival circuit right now. It would have been out by now, but I think they're kind of waiting and holding and trying to figure out how to get that out to people since, well, people aren't going to the movies right now. So I'm excited for people to get to see that. That's definitely a totally different side of me, that character.
Sounds great. I'm sure people will be excited to see it, and maybe they can actually see it in theaters one of these days. So again, Brian, thank you so much for joining me, talking about everything. Happy National Chili Day.
Thank you. It has become my most important national holiday.
I'm sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to my dog, Rosalita, for joining the conversation, as always. And to our team behind the scenes, Alfred Mascaroni, Max Sternlicht, and Anna Sekula for making these events happen. We couldn't do it without you. And Eileen Liffring for her help with our social channels. For more marketing news, head to adage.com. And to catch up on episodes of Remotely, you can head straight to adage.com/remotely. I'd also like to remind our viewers that we have our Ad Age Next food and beverage event coming up on March 23rd. It'll be a half-day event filled with insights on the industry, featuring speakers including Marcus Samuelsson. So for information and to purchase tickets to that, you can visit adage.com/nextfood. And I would love to close this episode by showing the Bushes video. So stay tuned and you can watch that right here on Remotely. Again, Brian, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
I'm back, baby. That's right. It is National Chili Day again, which means, you guessed it, my best chili ever awaits. Chili Day. Chili Day. Chili Day. Nope. Never again. Not this time. We are not going to let one drop of chili hit the floor. We already have the best beans, obviously. Bushes, of course. We need the best chili pot. Yes. Oh, yes. It's chili time. Yes! I have created the No Spilly Chili Pot. Oh. It's a pot that doesn't spill chili. Ever. From all of me to all of you, happy National Chili Day, everyone. Shoot. Give me a break.